I said to Jess, like, I think we could do this. And when she said she was like all in, I finished training one day. She sent me a logo and half the business plan. And I'm like, she's like serious about this.
It's funny because we've actually ticked off pretty much everything that we said we would do on that plan. And anytime I say that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. People are underestimating me because they've done it my whole life.
I didn't have a plan B. I still don't. And I like to just know that Mr. Potato is all I've got and I'm going to make it work. First quote to build the store was like 50 grand. We had like $5. Jess is like, we'll just build it ourselves. And I'm like, I can't even change it to real beer.
We second guess ourselves so much, you know, and society does that to us, you know. It was ballsy. Like, they honestly laughed at us. They're like, well, it's nice to just dream big and do all that.
I was happy to get the one store going, and now we've sold 20 in total now. For us, that's just massive growth. If we can get Mr. Potato in every single city in the world, that's the goals.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Jess Davis.
And I'm Tyson Hoffman.
And this is the Life, Money and Love podcast.
Just quickly before we get started, guys, if you've been enjoying the podcast, can I please ask that you consider leaving a 5-star review and subscribing on whatever platform you've been listening. It really helps the podcast grow.
All right, let's jump in. And we got Tyson Hoffman and Jeff Davies, the founders of Mr. Potato. Is it Davies? You looked at me funny. That's
Davis.
right. Davis. All right, fine. Good start. All right, Jess, let's do that again. Jess Davis. The founders of Mr. Potato, which is like your modern spin on the traditional baked potato, like a healthy option for your fast food restaurants. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot. First question, guys. It's a serious question and something I'm seriously invested in.
Yeah.
I saw that Mr. Potato Newtown store pop up a couple months ago, and I was so excited, and it still hasn't opened. Give me an update. When is this opening?
Oh, man, there's been... Yeah, you go ahead.
Well, literally should be open in like 3 weeks from now.
Oh, genuinely?
Yeah, like
Genuinely.
the build just started last week, but we didn't realise how like intricate the process is in Sydney, getting like DAs approved, and it's in a heritage conservation area, so you've got to go through all these approvals just to change the paint on the outside.
It's yellow at the front, to change it to white has been like a 3-month process.
And it looks horrible at the moment.
But they just did that before, you know, they just renovated it before.
And they chose that yellow to fit the area, but now we want to change it to white, and we like pink and green like this. We had tiles kind of, they want them uniform, neat. It's just how they want it to be. So just getting approvals when I think there's like 1,000 other people in Sydney trying to do things as well. It's like month delays.
The process is just a nightmare. But anyway, we've got the DA now. So
it was supposed to be open in like August.
Yeah, that's what I was like, what's going on?
Can we get open before Christmas is the plan.
So, yeah.
No, 1st of December is like when we're going to open the doors, do like a soft open at this stage, and then it's going to be like a grand opening on the 17th of December. I think.
Free Spud Day, so everyone
there we go. I'll be there. I'll be there. For what it's worth, I think you've picked a good spot for your type of product in Newtown. Like
we did a lot of research, and we try to see who's doing really well with the similar concepts. And we were going to pick Bondi, Parramatta. We were going to pick like North Sydney. We found Newtown seems to be the spot to do the first one and to do it well. We think this will be it.
Yeah, it was funny because the franchisees that have actually got that store, they didn't want to do that location because
the reason is like Guzman and Gomez and El Jana are so busy that there's no way that we'll be that busy. And we were like, guys, it's actually really good that they're pumping.
Yeah.
They're like, then they were kind of they shied away from it.
We're like, it's a good thing that the businesses there are busy. Like, I was like, they're now their customers will find out.
Exactly, yeah. And especially as like your first one in Sydney, what an awesome opportunity.
Yeah.
It's you're honestly not going to find a higher foot traffic area than Newtown. Like genuinely, 100%.
Yeah.
We found out. I came down here last night for dinner just to have a look, and I went to a little place called, I think it was a little Italian restaurant called the Italian Bowl or something.
Famous in Newtown, I'm
talking like 70 people. They line up, and they're just flowing. I'm like, wow, this is the spot. So fingers crossed. We're hoping this goes.
Well,
really
like there's across the road, there's this little random place, like it's like a Mexican sushi/taco fusion, and I thought that was such a weird idea, but even they're doing all right, so I think with you guys will do pretty well. So I'm really keen for that because I think it's going to be such good food, and I'll get into kind of more of the Mr. Potato stuff with you guys and how that all happened, but I think to do that we got to rewind a little bit, talk about where you guys were in life before, what you guys were doing, and then obviously how you met and how that turned into the business. But can you both tell me, I don't mind who wants to start first, what you guys were doing in life before Mr. Potato and this whole journey?
Well, I was literally modeling, for like probably 15 years. So I started when I was about 14. I moved to Sydney completely alone when I was 16 years old. started the journey from there, and then kind of went on the overseas circuit. So I actually went all through Asia first of all, then over to Europe, did some time in America, got to work with like insane, amazing brands and things like that. But then came back to Australia when I was about 21 and just wanted to have like a sense of normality to my life, you know, so I went and got a job, just a normal job. I was working at Rentlow. Do you know what Rentlow is?
No. She tells me about it. I haven't heard of Rentlow.
It's like a place where you can go and like basically rent furniture and like
where was this? Back in Sydney again?
In
or
Adelaide.
Adelaide,
so I went back. I went fully back to Adelaide to be like a normal Adelaide girl, and I think I lasted probably like a year there. I got into like a relationship, which was like my first serious relationship, and then about probably a year in, I was like, I'm destined for more. Like I'm not cut out for this just like 9-to-5 lifestyle. Like I knew that I wanted to do something different, and I actually launched my first business, I think at the age of 21 then.
Wow.
Which was in the modelling industry. So I actually was running a model search. So it's called Australian Supermodel of the Year. And so the production was running in Australia for the first 3 years. And then, as we were talking before, so I got on a plane one day and went on a holiday to Bali and went with some friends and literally ended up staying 3 years. Like,
what was it about Bali that made you stay?
I don't know. Like, I'd been through a breakup, and it was just one of those breakups where you just can't let go, and you just keep going back to each other. And it just got to a point where I was like, I just need to escape from all of this. Like, it was impossible for me to kind of date in Adelaide or in Australia without like someone going, it was just really frustrating time.
Yeah.
And so, I ended up in Bali, moved the business and the most of the production to Bali as well. So we used to fly like 20 models over there every year, shoot like video content, photos and stuff for a week. They do events and like runway shows. And I did that for 7 years in total, that business. And then how old was I? 28 when I met you.
What's the age gap? 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, I was 24. Yeah, so you were 28.
Yeah, so 28 years old. I was actually back in Adelaide. Another one of those times where I was like, okay, I've done Bali for 3 years now. It's, time for me to go back home and have a bit more normality. And met Tyson. We'd met a few times over the previous years through like mutual friends if I was ever visiting back home and stuff. Never liked each other.
Yeah.
I put Jess under the stereotype that she's a model, she'll be materialistic, she won't be down to earth. And I was like, it's my fault, I shouldn't have done that. But I just thought, no, I won't want a bar of her. That's what I thought. Yeah. I didn't even know her. I just saw her on like Instagram.
Make those quick judgments.
Just silly of me, but I just put her in that basket. And then, one of my friends, like this is how we met. One of my friends was modeling for that model search that she was running. He was a really good friend of mine. He is a really good friend of mine. He said, oh, mate, like, let's go to this bar. I'll pick you up. And he picks me up and he calls past Jess's house because he was
I think we're going to do the G-rated version of this story. There's another version, but
he calls past Jess's house.
I mean, feel free to spice it up as much as you want.
I'll say as much as I can.
Well, he first of all, our mutual friend picked him up in my car.
So like my mate didn't have much money at the time. He rolls up in this Audi into the sunroof up, and I'm like, bro, whose car is that? He's like, it's my man, get in. I was like, it's not fucking your car. There's no way it's your car. And we're driving. I'm thinking, whose car is this? And we pull into this house. We roll up. Me and my mate. We're about on the way to the bar. And he had to call into this house, and it was Jess's house. And I was like, we're sitting up the top of the stairs, and Jess walks up the stairs. And was like, what the hell are you doing here? And I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then we all got in the car, went to this bar in Adelaide called the Mosley. We're walking up the stairs. Keep in mind, I've got her in this basket as like materialistic and like blah, blah, blah. We walk upstairs and Jess goes, oh, I've lost my card. I don't have my wallet. And I bump my mate. I'm like, fuck this girl, man. She's like saying she doesn't have her purse or whatever, But really, my mate lost her card because he used it to buy something. So it actually was truthful. We roll up to this club. It's just a bar. And my two mates left early, like within 5 minutes with girls. They left. And I was like sitting next to Jess. We're still not even talking or anything like that. And Jess's friend's like, oh, this is boring. Let's go. And then Jess is like, like just out of sympathy, she's like, "We're leaving. Do you want to come or like, what are you gonna do?" And I was like, "Fuck, I'm here by myself." I'm like, "I guess I'll come."
You got the sympathy invite.
Yeah, I got the sympathy invite. We go back to Jess's place. Those guys went to bed. We sat on the balcony, had a few wines, and just started talking. And I was like, "Fuck, this girl's actually down to earth. She's not like what I thought. She's lived so many lives. It's freaking awesome." And then from that day, we kind of spent every day together.
Yeah.
7 days after that, pretty much, I said to Jess, because I was playing professional basketball at the time, I was cooking sweet potato and chicken every single day. It's like, that's what they pump into you because slow release carb, it's good for energy, and you got like a lean protein chicken. So I'm cooking that like all the time, and I'm sick of waiting like an hour for it to cook every day. And I just said to Jess, I don't know how, but I would love to start a healthy baked potato joint. I think it would do really well. I know all of my athlete mates would eat it. I'm sick of getting Mexican and stuff all the time and blah, blah, blah. And Jess is like, you know what? That's a fucking great idea. And I was like, oh, I don't actually know if it's going to work. She's like, no, we're doing this. And then like a month and a half later, like during that time, we wrote a business plan. And a month and a half later, I quit basketball. She sold her modeling business to her biggest sponsor. The company's still going now. We just went all in, and we were just had absolutely, because we didn't have any background in food.
Yeah.
We had absolutely no idea what we were doing. We're trying to order stock. We're getting stock from Coles and Woolworths. Like we're getting like going about things. So like we pretty much built the store ourselves because we had no funds at the start.
Yeah.
Did like as much as we could without like electrical and plumbing. We couldn't really do, but we did as much as we can. We didn't have air cons because we couldn't afford it. We just opened the doors thinking we'd get, like, realistically, no money on marketing, no background, just our personal networks. We thought maybe 5 to 10 customers the first day. The first day we had 100 people come through.
There was literally a
like,
lineup.
It's cool to say that, but it's like we didn't know how to handle
we
like
had
5, let
no
alone
idea what we were doing.
100. So
What was it? How did you get 100 people there? Like, what did you do?
I think, like, my network's not that big. I knew a couple of pro athletes. That's about it. I told them about it, obviously. Jess had a bigger following in Adelaide. I think it helped heaps. Like, just they followed the little journey of us building the store and things like that.
So you documented that process?
Yeah.
Or not like really well, but we posted about it here and there. The second store we documented pretty well.
Yeah, and then I also like reached out, which I had no idea the impact it would have, but I reached out to like the local newspaper because they'd always done stories on me and things. And they did like a segment in there about us opening, and that was actually after maybe a week of us being open, but that we literally had so many people come through from that, and we're like, wow, the power of PR, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, especially in Adelaide, you didn't really know how much of an effect that would have in a food business as well. But
like, honestly, Adelaide's the hardest market to please. There's only 1 million people there compared to other cities.
And
That's
it's
not that
really
many.
conservative as well. Like people don't want to go outside of their normal things, and
is there many like vegans and vegos and stuff in Adelaide? Like,
surprisingly, yes.
There is.
The vegan market population and like just the amount of restaurants and things that cater for it, I think is actually better than Sydney. It's actually been a struggle moving here.
Everywhere for
now,
years now, there's been vegan menus everywhere or vegan options everywhere.
Any pub that you go to, any cafes, like either has a full vegan menu or like caters to vegans.
When we first started it, we wanted to cater for vegans. We had options. We thought we got maybe 5 to 7% of sales were vegan, like not that many. But now it's like 35 to 40%. It's not straight vegans. Like, yes, there's heaps of them and we love them, but it's also people that just want to reduce meat for one time. Like they're eating chicken, that's like, I just want to not eat beef or chicken one time and just have a vegan meal. And that's what we're finding, that people are starting to just do a little bit less of the meat consumption and more of the
which is awesome. I mean,
which is good. And we cater because we have just as many, like we have normal cheese, we have vegan cheese, we have normal butter, we have vegan butter, we have 4 normal proteins, then we have 4 vegan proteins. We got an option for everything. That's why we think Newtown would pump as well.
Yeah, well, Newtown, that's the thing. You're saying there's not a lot of vegan options in Newtown. There is, because like probably every second person doesn't eat meat around here.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys about the build, but before that, I want to rewind. There's a couple of things I want to ask you about kind of your upbringing and your childhood, the earlier days. We'll start with you first, Tyson. You mentioned something before when I was doing some research on you, that you grew up with like a single mother and 2 sisters. Can you talk to me about what that was like?
So I grew up with, single mum, 2 sisters. I have about 13 female cousins and like 2 male cousins. I have like 3 aunties and 2 uncles. It's all females. So growing up with females, not saying I understand females, but probably because no one does. But more than most, I kind of get it. But growing up being like the only male, I kind of looked after my little sister as much as possible. My mum was working as hard as she can to try and feed us 3 kids, and she didn't have a high-paying job or anything. We were living like week to week. It just taught me exactly, like, no offense to my mum or anything, I just don't want to be like that. I wanted to do more and make sure my kids don't know about the money stresses, and they get fed on time, and like there's not that pressure of like going to school and not knowing what you've got for lunch and things like that. Those things are big like drivers for me. Money's not everything, but I just want to make sure that my family and my my family are okay. So it's a big drive for me to make sure that we do well enough that we don't have to worry. So that's what pushes us. But it also gave me drive to do really well in basketball. Like, I wanted to provide for my family and do something good, and I was pretty good at basketball. I was tall. I worked really hard to get athletic, and I just made sure, and that was a big driver for me. But when Mr. Potato come about, I was kind of playing – I got to the Adelaide 36ers like list. There's only like 13 or 14 people on the list. I was there for like 4 years. They didn't cut me. They didn't really play me. So I left, and I was like, I want to just put – I'm 24. You're getting – as a pro athlete, if you're not really playing by 24, that's nearly peak. So you got to start thinking after. And I said to Jess, like, I think we could do this. And when she said she was like all in, I finished training one day. She sent me a logo and half the business plan. And I'm like, fuck, she's like serious about this. And then
straight onto it.
Yeah, like, 'cause she's a creator. Like, that's just what she does. And then yeah, like, I just went, fuck, I think if I put all my energy and effort into this, I really can make this work. There's a gap in the market. There's so much Mexican. There's so much other things going on. There's no one's doing this on this scale. Let's just try it. So then we just went all in. And it was just, I have this drive just to do well. And I learnt from my mum. She did as good as she can, but I just want to do better. That's all.
Yeah.
So.
And that moment transitioning, you said like by the time you started this, you gave up basketball in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Was it like a big decision for you? Was it difficult, or were you like, it felt right?
Definitely difficult. You spend your whole life. Your mum, for instance, has put every spare cent to get you to the trainings, to get you to the games, to let you fly to America. All the time and effort you put into basketball. But the thing, like, it was a big thing when I called the club, or I had a meeting with the club and said, I'm going to stop playing. It's like emotional roller coaster. You're like, fuck, is this the right thing to do? What if I actually start killing it in basketball? Like, what if I actually just get that, like, become amazing? Like, I'm nearly there. And it was hard, but I knew that all the things I'd learned from rocking up to basketball, not getting much games, you become super resilient, you become super persistent. I was just like determined to do something, and I knew if I just put it into something else, and Mr. Potato was the thing, that I didn't have a plan B. I still don't, and I like to just know that Mr. Potato is all I've got, and I'm going to make it work. And I think that's why it's been successful. We don't give up when things get hard, because we're going to make sure this shit works. So
yeah. And one more question before I ask something to Jess about your story. There's a lot that I want to ask you about, but what do you think's the main thing you got from basketball and that career as a professional athlete, that what attribute or what trait that has served you the most moving into business?
100% resilience. So like rocking up every single day, getting a game, not getting a game, rocking up to trainings. We didn't get paid, only paid by when you play. So for 4 years, I played like 10 games. So I worked 3 jobs to be at the 36ers. Like, that's things that people don't understand. They think it's glitz and glamour.
The basketball industry is very different to like AFL in Australia.
The person on the same pathway as me in AFL, minimum's 100K a year they get. For me, I'm getting paid for when I play. So I become super resilient, because you're rocking up every day. Everyone in your family's like, when are you going to get it? When are you going to play, Tyson? When are you going to play? It's like, I'm trying to fucking do everything to play. But like, that just built that resilience. It was hard but now in business, when things get a little bit harder, whenever like I've gone through it, like I've been at the lowest lows with basketball, so I can get through it. So definitely resilience for me. Yeah.
And Jess, there's something I want to speak to you about, if you don't mind. It's something I found fascinating, interesting in your story, because we've had another person on the podcast and we spoke about her journey, and I found it really eye-opening, and a lot of people got a lot of value from hearing about her story and her journey. But can you talk to me about being in high school, 15 years old, obviously you're pursuing modeling, and you developed an eating disorder, and what that looked like for you, and how you eventually recovered from that?
Yeah, I mean, my journey was crazy. So it kind of all started to unravel around the age of 10 years old, when my parents separated, and they were married for 30 years. So it was kind of like an out of the blue thing. And so they went through the separation, and it was like never an amicable one. So the property settlement and things actually ended up lasting like 7 years. But by the age of probably like 12, I started to kind of rebel against both of them. They had a really toxic relationship. Like, I still haven't really even seen them in the same room together to this day, which is just crazy. To think that, you can love someone for 30 years and then you just, there's so much resentment and hate. It's just crazy. But kind of all those emotions were playing on me. And because I was the youngest one, I was kind of the go-between in their relationship. So, my mum would pass messages through me to dad, oh, mum, like, oh, your dad's, such a wanker, he's such an asshole, this, that. Dad, the same thing. And what made things even worse was that my dad actually ended up dating, and they're, actually still together now, with like one of our really close family friends. So there was a couple. There was another couple that they were friends with, and Dad ended up with the partner. And I actually always loved her. She was kind of like, this fun, kind of eccentric woman. Always a good time. And I mean, they're still together now, but that happening as well just put my mum into this like massive spiral of emotions, as you can imagine. You've not just lost a marriage, you've then lost a friend as well. So I'm 12 years old, 13 years old, going through all of this stuff in my head, and I'm seeing like the brunt of all of it. It just, I had no control over my whole life. And the one thing that I could control was, my eating. So around like 14 years of age, I started to rebel against both my parents. I think after probably, at the age of 14, they both had been like, we both had enough of you. And I actually went to live with my sister, who's 15 years older than me. So she became almost like a mother to me rather than a sister. And things just progressed, and I obviously started losing a lot more weight. My sister knew something was wrong but didn't really know how to approach the situation. She was also dealing with her own stuff. And, I remember one day, I think it was the first day of school, and I was getting on the bus to go to the new college. So I'd just finished middle school, we were going to college, and the bus route that I was taking actually went to past my mother's house, and I hadn't seen her at this point in probably 3 or 4 months. And I turned up at her doorstep, and she took one look at me and was like, wow, like there's something very wrong with you. Went to the hospital, and they basically from that day admitted me into the hospital for being anorexic. And I was like, oh, it's fine, I'll just be here for a few days or whatever. There's nothing wrong with me. I couldn't see, like, in my own reflection, how, like, at the time I was 45 kilos and I'm 178 centimeters tall. So you can imagine I was just nothing but skin and bones. And I ended up spending a month in hospital, which was just a roller coaster of emotions. So I had one of those tubes shoved down my throat, the nasogastric tubes. And that was probably the thing that made me spiral the most, because I started eating when I was in hospital because they would feed me food. But for somebody that's so fixated on what's going on into their body and, that control, to have just like a constant supply of something that you don't know what it is going into your stomach, it's just like, it sent me into just like a spiral of emotions. So those kind of first 2 or 3 weeks that I was in the hospital, it was just like a nightmare. Like, I still remember one day my mum came and visited me every day. I think my dad only came to see me once because we'd kind of had a massive falling out before that. And one day I finally convinced Mum to let me out, basically. She's like, okay, look, gather up your things. Yeah, literally break me out. I was like, okay, we're gathering up all my things. And then we start to head towards like the exit doors, and then all of a sudden the nurses have like caught on to what's happening, and the doors just like slammed shut in front of us. And it was like, there was nowhere for me to go. That was it. Like, I was like, I have to literally face what I'm going through. Like, it was like forced me to basically go, okay, this is enough. And also while I was actually in hospital, I was seated next to a guy called Ben. He was 12 years old and he had leukemia. And we became like really good mates during this time because he was obviously in there for a long period of time, as was I, whereas all the other people was kind of in for a few days out. And one of the, I think, pivotal moments for me, we were doing like a group session where you have like visitors come in and, you know, speak to you about, you know, what do you want to do with your life and things. So we sat down in this group and the guy kind of asked us, you know, oh, what do you all want to be when you're older? And I didn't say I wanted to be a model because I was too embarrassed. But I think I said I wanted to be a lawyer or something. And then it got to Ben and he was like, honestly, he's like, I'm probably not going to get to be anything when I'm older. He's like, if I can make it to be a teenager, then I'll be happy with that. And honestly, like hearing that, I think was one of the reasons for me where I was like, wow, I have like this amazing life journey ahead of me. And here I am like literally just destroying it myself. So that was, you know, for me kind of the start of when I started to recover. Yeah. But it's a long journey. Like anyone that's suffered any form of eating disorder knows it's not just cured overnight. It's, you know, it's a long-term game and it takes like constant effort to be able to get yourself into a positive state of mind and be able to, you know, take yourself out of that. So, yeah.
That perspective shift to get that from a 12-year-old kid.
I know, yeah.
Do you feel like, have you been able to hold on to that moment in an effort to like hold on to gratitude in your life still to this
100%, yeah. And there's been a lot of times in my life where a similar thing has kind of come up and I've gone, yeah, you know, it just, you have to be grateful for what you've got and, you know, take every opportunity as it comes. And
with your circumstance, obviously there was a lot of emotions and probably things going on in your life. So hard to navigate. Even just being a teenager, a teenage girl, especially probably even more difficult than a guy in certain aspects. Then have all this stuff and like emotional pulling each way and kind of getting caught in the middle. For you personally, looking back, do you feel like, was it for you the eating disorder something, was it more of a physical thing or do you think it was the way that you processed the emotion and all the craziness in your life?
Yeah, it was 100% an emotional thing. Like for me, it was my way of coping, you know, and being able to control something in my life when everything else was just completely out of control. So, yeah.
And did that bring you and your mother back closer together or what did it do for your relationship?
Yeah, it definitely did for a period of time. And you know, it's really hard for my mum and to watch the journey that she's been on as well. We're not that close because I think after all that's happened over the years, it's just I've grown from it all and she's not been able to, unfortunately. Like I guess she's never really gotten over my dad, you would say. Like it's really sad because, you know, she literally, in her defense, you know, she had kids and married at, you know, 17, 18 years old. She spent her whole life building this life around a man and then he walks out and leaves you. And I think she just lost all sense of her identity and who she was. So, yeah.
It's rough. Like I know doesn't sound, I don't know the detail. I don't even know the details of my parents one, to be honest. But my mum and my dad split up. They were married when I was like such a baby or before while my mum was still pregnant. I don't even know. I don't even go there really. But like I didn't even meet my dad until I was 15 because there was so much just like emotion and like.
It was similar to me. So like my dad and mum split up when I was 1 or 2. So I can't remember.
No, of course. Yeah.
Then I was like 10 and this guy walks in, big Tongan guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who the fuck's this? Yeah. He's like, my mum was like, that's your dad. Like, she would always be like running him down and stuff. And then like, as I've got older, I've actually built a stronger relationship with him because you hear just one side of the story. Now you can kind of, but I can just kind of weigh things up myself. But yeah, I'm similar to you. I was like, met him for the first time when I was like 10. So.
Yeah. I remember there was a time, it might've been a year or so, maybe a year or two before I actually met him. And we're going to meet him one other time before. I was 15, so it would have been maybe like 13 at this point. And I chickened out. I couldn't do it. I got too nervous. And then looking back, like, fuck, imagine how he felt. Like, But I'm like, I've got a great relationship with my dad now. And it's like, obviously my parents went through their own stuff, but now as an adult and me being me, and obviously I've got half of my genetics from him, half from my mum.
Yeah.
Like, it's obviously like, if it takes, obviously it was there with my mum and I understand whatever my dad did was wrong, but I understand both perspectives. It's
I'm
like,
the same, man.
I can't not, you know what I mean? So
I'm the same. I'm just like, I'm more forgiving as well. I like kind of just work out. I appreciate what mum's done, but like he's still also my dad. Like
yeah. And like my dad was like, 10 years older than my mum or
Same.
something like that.
Same,
And like,
yeah.
I already had like,
Yeah.
I've oldest siblings on that side of the family that I don't really see or anything that are like 10, 15 years older than me, have
Same,
kids and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like,
So it's the same.
yeah.
I think the best thing though is because we've been through this and, you know, experienced the trauma as kids going through these kinds of breakdowns of relationships, I think it now gives us an opportunity to go, I don't want to build a family like that. And if, God forbid, if something was to go wrong with the marriage, you know, you're going to handle the breakdown of a marriage in a very different way. But I've always just said, like, I'm getting married once.
That's it.
That's
yeah.
it. Like,
That's the plan.
I
That's
said, like,
the
I would
plan.
never put my kids through, like, what I had to go through as a child.
Yeah. I think it's just such an important part of how we got to where we are today. And now back onto Mr. Potato, you said you did the business plan. First of all, well, you've had some experience in business, so you might have known what you were doing. But what was in that V1 version of a business plan? I'm always interested to hear what people put in their first draft.
Where do we get the template from? Do we just find it online somewhere?
I think, no.
Like, was it the government website? And they
No, I was trying to think where we got
It
the
wasn't.
template from. Jess,
No,
you got
the
it
accountant,
somewhere.
I think, sent us the template.
Mark, Mark Riddle, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I had actually created a business plan before for my old business, but going into Mr. Potato when we
still look at it sometimes.
Yeah, we've still got a
one.
copy of it.
Oh,
We should have
nice.
brought it in. No, it's funny because we've actually ticked off pretty much everything that we said we would do on that plan, and it was ballsy. Like, we didn't just say, oh, we're going to have one location and trade for the next 5 years in that one location and then expand. It was like, okay, we're going to do one store in the first year. We're going to do like another one in another 2 or 3 in the next year. It's like we're then going to franchise, we're going to go interstate, and it's like literally that was our 5-year plan.
Yeah,
And we've
like
literally done all
ticked
of it.
all of it, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big believer of like I calculate things like how can we physically make this happen. Like Jess is like the creative dreamer. She's like, no, we're gonna fucking become a franchise powerhouse. We haven't even started. I'm like, I don't know how that's gonna work, but this is how we get store one, and then we can use this to do that like that. So like we had like 1 store first year, 2 the second year, and then write franchise manual and start selling franchises and have like 10 in the 3rd year. And like we actually did that, and it's like wow. And
doesn't always go to plan like that.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, but like thing is, I was happy like to get the 1 store going. You know, like that was amazing, and it did well. And then like now to date, at the start of the year we had like 4 stores, and now we've sold 20 in total. Now,
wow,
it's just like this year alone, that's like 16 sites. There's only 6 trading right now, but like before May next year there'll be 20 trading. Like it's just going like for us, that's just massive growth. That it's awesome. Like we love it, but it's not easy as well. Like we want to grow this thing. We got to hire more of a team, and it's
actually so funny because anytime we tell people what our plans are, like even our own shareholders, when we sat down and told them like, okay, we're actually going to sell 20.
I hope Ryan watches
locations
this. Yeah. Ryan was like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. You are like.
They honestly laughed at us. They're like, well, you know, it's nice to just dream big and do all that.
No. Ryan was similar. He's similar to me. He's like, guys, 20 sounds cool, but like realistically, you're probably going to do like 5, right? Like realistically, like you're only going to sell probably 5. And just like, no, we're going to sell 20 this year. And he's like, then like, I chat to Ryan one-on-one. I was like, yeah, mate, we'll probably get to 10. I don't know. And then he's like, I don't actually know. But Jess, I know we're doing 20. And then next thing, we sell 20. Like,
And I think that's one thing that I absolutely hate is just people underestimating me because they've done it my whole life. So I'm just like, anytime I say that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get it done.
She does that. She's always like
possible.
That's how like back to building the stores. It's like we roll in. The first quote to build the store was like 50 grand. We had like $5, and they're like, Jess is like. I was like, fuck, we can't afford that.
Got to sell that Audi.
Yeah, I was like, sell something. Then Jess is like, we'll just build it ourselves. And I'm like, I can't even change a drill bit. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I grew up in a family of girls. We don't know how to do anything. Like, and then Jess like, no, we're actually going to build it ourselves. So we built like the whole shop pretty much ourselves. We put this wall in. We built a counter. We like got a fridge, like our big salad. You think of Subway, you know, the big fridge they have for
like the long ones.
Yeah. We like ours is similar to that. We didn't have much money, and they're like 15 grand each. We found one 6 hours from Adelaide. Was it Mount Gambier?
Yeah,
Mount Gambier or somewhere crazy. It was like 2 grand, but we rock up and I'm thinking it's like 50 kilos, this thing. This thing's like 400 kilos. It's got on a crane and I've just got this trailer. I've never even driven a car with a trailer at this point.
Yeah.
And you put it on the back of the trailer and then it's cool to get it on there. We strap it down and stuff. I don't even know how to tie a strap at that point. We get back and it's like, how the fuck are we going to get this thing off the trailer? Then we call up the local fruit and veg store. I was like, mate, can we use your forklift to get this off the back? And he's like, we're going to have to do it at 4 a.m. We're like, all right. So we go down to like the next morning. We're parked at the front at 4 a.m. He picks it up off the back of the trailer. It's like this thing's like balancing. It's so long. It's like 3 meters long. I'm like, don't drop it like that. 2 grand was like all the money we had. And then we put it on these dollies and then like, he's like, mate, I got to go back and take the forklift back. We got to unpack. So then it's just Jess and I on the road with like this big thing trying to like maneuver it into the shop. And then, it was crazy. So like but also once the store got open, I'm telling you, it was like not that great. But for us, we built it. So it was like,
so proud, like your baby, right?
Everything everyone's seeing, we painted it, we did that, we built those seats, we built that, even though it lasted for like 1 month, but it's still, we did it. We did it. So, it's cool. Like that part of it was cool. It was very fulfilling. Yeah.
You're going to have the block knocking on your door soon. Get you on that series.
Maybe, hopefully. That'd be cool.
We may have sent an application.
Yeah. I think you got a pretty good resume for that. Like, so obviously this studio is way less than a bit, but we did this ourselves. And like, I'm the same. Like these are concrete walls. Like I had to hammer drill into the walls. I'm like, I'm fucking proud of myself. Like a hammer drill, this is mental.
It's cool. Yeah.
They're like bricks spitting back in my face. I've got my blue light glasses as my goggles.
I've done it before, that hammer drill on the brick. It's the thing is, people don't understand is like everything, like on YouTube, there's like 20 different videos on how to hammer drill.
Oh, you can do anything.
There's 20 different videos on how to build this. And I just started watching all of these videos and learning as much as possible.
And I think it goes for anything with life. You know, there's so much knowledge and information everywhere. So just because you don't know something yourself doesn't mean you can't go out there and find the answers that you need.
Absolutely.
It's like there's information everywhere in this day and age.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what you said at the start. Like, it's people just think, oh, you've got all these franchises open, you're going to have 20 locations in the next few months. It's so easy. But you literally had to bootstrap everything, build things yourself. Like that just got, like, that's what you got to do in business. And like you spoke about resilience before and perseverance. It's such an important part. And I want to ask a question, kind of how you got to the next level, and you mentioned some of your shareholders and stuff. But at what point did you start looking for investment? And can you talk us about that process? Because obviously a lot of people are always interested in what people are putting in pitch decks and how to approach potential investors and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously we've been a part of the entourage now for a year and a half. And it was always, you know, our goal and our dream to we wanted either Janine from Boost Juice, which we're still working on her. So if she sees this, expect a call from us soon. And also Stuart from Zambrero's who helped obviously Sam Cook take Zambrero's from 2 stores to 150. And it was random because we were part of the entourage and Tyson jumped on just a vision partner call with him, right? Just to ask advice. And
it was more calculated than this.
Yeah.
I knew he was a vision partner there. I joined it so I could chat to him.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Is this Stuart?
Stuart Cook, yeah. So I learned from basketball, you surround yourself with people that have done it before, you can learn from them and if everyone can grow together. There's 2 people that we could learn from that have done similar journeys. It's Janine from Boost or it's Stuart from Zambrero's. They're 2 similar concepts to us, like fast, quick, easy, fast food. So we wanted to learn from one of them. Stuart was a vision partner at Entourage. I wanted to get on a call and just learn from him. I was like I told him this. I was like so nervous before the call. It was a 15-minute call. I was like, on Monday, I was like, mate, have you got time for a call? He's like, yeah. I've got Sunday at like 8 a.m. I was like, it's very strange. He works like, he's just a workaholic. And he's like, 8 a.m. I'm at home about to take the call. And I was like, I was with Jess. Like, no, I want to go for a drive. So I'm in the car, like concentrating. And I was thinking the whole time, do I try and bullshit how we've got here and like sugarcoat everything, or do I just be real with this guy and just be like, see? And I was like, got on the phone. I said, man, we've made some mistakes. We've built the stores ourselves. We've done this. And he's like, Tice, I did the same thing with Zambrero's. And I was like, we just clicked really well. And more so than getting an investment or anything, I just wanted to learn from someone that had done a similar journey to me. They built Zambrero from 1 store to 100, and then they exited and started an investment fund called Twiwo Capital. The world is your oyster capital. But they had done what we are trying to do, and Zambrero's is like very similar to us. You know, if you replace the bread with the potatoes, you're pretty much doing the same thing. So
And by the time that we already approached them, so we'd already created a pitch deck, had no idea what we were doing with it. I just made it look really pretty, like I always do. It's presented really well. There's not a lot of substance in there, really. But, we just spoke about the vision and our customers, like what our customers think of the brand. And I think that was enough for people to go, wow, like.
It was in what they said, the thing that got them to over the line was the vision, the product is a bonus, but it's the founders they back. They back the founders, Stuart, and that they like that I'm an ex-athlete, coachable. They want to be able to, like you guys know, you want to be able to work with people. Yeah. For us, we don't we don't let franchisees into the network unless we think, are they coachable? Can we work with this person? It's 7-year contracts. And like they're looking at it like that. They're like, at the end of the day, are they resilient? Are they just going to give up when it gets hard? Like that's the thing that got them, that they say that they like most about it. But.
And there's been 100 times that we should have given up, honestly. There's more than.
What are some of those times?
Oh, man.
What stands out?
Well, first of all, we grew this business throughout COVID. So we're, trying to grow and scale a business right in the middle of a global pandemic, which, is always going to create issues.
And it's okay if you had a cash reserve. Right, if you have a cash reserve, you keep things going. But when we've just before COVID started, we opened our 3rd store. We put every cent we had into it, and then the sales dropped, and there was no backup of cash. Yeah. I'm talking suppliers are getting paid late. Some of the team members are getting paid late, and that things like kills us. We're trying to do the best we can. Trying to navigate that is hard. The team members are like, well, why can't you afford wages? It's like we don't have any cash. Like if it's the stores aren't trading, we will. Going week to week to earn back the cash that we just invested into this new store that we opened. So and suppliers not fully understanding we're a new business. So it's just, that was definitely tough.
And the issue of COVID didn't just last during the period of the restrictions. We're still trying to make back losses from 2 years ago now. And I mean, anyone in business would know the same thing. It really did disrupt so much of everyone's business during that time, and it's years to recover from that and build back where you started.
There's been a huge ripple effects, as in the stuff like when the people can't come pick the fruit, the fresh produce can't get picked properly. There's been floods and stuff, and then the price of the fresh produce goes up, and then we have to pay more. So then we have to do price increase, and it's just a rippling effect that people don't really understand. So that now our meal, everyone's in the same boat. You have to up your prices because we're paying 20 to 50% more for stock than we used to, and it's just it's all been a ripple effect,
but we're still going.
Yeah, that's the thing. How do you? It's one of my favorite questions to ask. Just what's been some of your darkest moments and hardest times, and then how do you get through them? You two together, obviously, have a great support network in each other. But what do you do to get through the hardest times when, like you said, you should have quit? It could have been easier to quit. I'm sure at certain times. How do you get through it?
Well, this year on record, the start of this year was hands down the worst year for us on record, and it was outside things that were, affecting it. So first of all, we plan to get married in.
Oh, so February, the 15th or something. Yeah. 2 weeks out, the venue calls. COVID's not really around, but they're scared, and they say.
So they cancelled the wedding.
Everyone's booked ready to come. This is the second time it's been cancelled, by the way. And then
is this in Adelaide?
Yeah.
The venue's awesome. They're just guys, if anyone gets COVID, we're going to close down. We cannot risk it. 2 weeks out, we're far out. The second
February
time.
this year?
Yeah.
Were we in lockdowns in Sydney then? We were open, right?
You were open, but there was another wave coming through Adelaide, and they were just freaking out that it was all going to unfold again.
Yeah.
Also, there was a tsunami that went through Tonga, which is where Tyson's
So I'm building this relationship with my dad.
For the first time.
Fucking tsunami goes through Tonga. They said it was the equivalent to, this might not be right, but it's 75 atomic bombs at the bottom of the seafloor. It's a volcano thing, and right near Tonga. And they thought my dad had internet on the island that he was on. I thought when the internet was gone, I was like, oh fuck, he's definitely dead. We all thought definitely would be dead. So there was a month or so without any communications at all. So it was that whole time. I'm not super close with him, but it's still my dad. And I was in this weird feeling, is he dead? We don't know what's going on. No one can get in contact with him. None of us in Australia, all the comms were completely wiped out from this tsunami. So for a month, I was really in a weird position. Emotionally, I was don't know if he's alive. I don't know if he's dead, and I don't know how to feel about it all. It's all very like, do I do anything? Do I start like, do I fly there? Do I try help? Do I start raising money through Mr. Potato? Like, what do I do to like? And it was like a very weird thing for me to like, go through. And then what happened? Anyway, so he was on the island. He got pulled out by a big wave, and then he got pushed back onto the island. And he was about to walk inside. He thought he had a ute on the island. He's like, the water's getting close to the ute. I'm going to move the ute back. And his cousin yells from like back up on the hill. He's like, get up to the top of the hill. There's a huge wave coming. And he's like thinking, fuck, what about my ute? And he's like, this is ute that he shipped from Australia, he's like a decent ute that he got there. It's a big effort to get it to this island. There's an island of like Tonga's island, like 200 islands. He shipped it to this island. It's like anyways, he's like, oh, all right, I'll leave it. And as he was kind of running away, he just heard all of his house that he saved up his whole life to build there, and all the stuff he built just crashed down. And no insurance, obviously, it's act of God. And they got to the top of a hill, and the whole island got wiped flat. They're at the top of the hill. There was bottles of water floating around all night. They stayed there. And then the next morning, the Tongan military or army came and picked them up. But, someone did pass away then, but they lost absolutely everything on the island. So there's just like a crazy time. And it was surprising when I saw my dad for the first time. I was expecting him to say, like, the tsunami is, like, so annoying. I'm so annoyed about it. And he just had acceptance. He's like, what can I do about it? Like, and it's like, it's true, but it's like he's lost absolutely. So he saved up his whole life to build a nice looking like Australian home on this Tongan island. And he built 3 little houses next to it for fishermen that come by, and they can stay there and he can make a little bit of extra money. He shipped a quad bike there. He shipped a ute there. He had his own boat there, obviously, and he lost it all. And now he's like 70 and got nothing at all. There's no superannuation. There's no money, and he's just like in rebuild. And it's just like, I just feel for him. Like, it's just tough, you know. Yeah. He's back in Australia. He was pouring concrete the other day with someone. Like, it's like now he's back on the like tools. It's just like, it's crazy. But that happened. So we're going through that. And then Jess finds out from her sister that she's got
then my sister got diagnosed with terminal breast cancer.
She finds out there's tell me if it's wrong. She finds out there's like a lump in like, is it like November the time before?
November she felt
like a bit of a lump, and she goes in January, finds out it's like spread to her spine and it's terminal, and she's like 45,
47.
50? Yeah, 47. It's like, so then
she's got a 8-year-old nephew. She's a single mum as well. And I think just all of these moments have happened, and, you know, you're trying to scale and grow a business at the same time. Our plan was always to move to Sydney after the wedding, and it got to like the end of February and we're like, let's just do it. We had no place to live here. We're like, that's what we said we were going to do. Let's just get in the cars and drive. So we did. We packed up the whole house. We moved over here. We found a place. And it's actually been one of the best things for us to actually do that. I think just give us like a fresh start almost after the kind of rough start that we had to the year. And but through that time, you know, that's when you realise, you know, as long as we've got each other and we've got a good support network around us, you know, you can get through anything.
That's why I give it to like business owners that don't have anyone. Like, I just don't know how I can share the problems with Jess. You know, it doesn't seem as heavy. People that do it by themselves, it's just crazy how they do that. It's just, I'm massive on having a good team around you, and we only just got it at the start of this year. So.
Don't get me wrong, like, we drive each other insane. Like,
of course, you bicker, but at the end of the day, like, we bicker and have little arguments here and there, but at the end of the day, look, we have the same vision, and we can kind of overcome those problems pretty quickly, which is good.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, what's the best and what's the worst thing about working with your partner? And you have to be honest, just lay it all out.
What's the best and worst? I'm trying to think of what's the best stuff.
I was going to say I'm trying to think of what the worst is. That's all right.
No, so the best thing is for sure is that you both can share all the problems and all the wins as well. Like, if we didn't work together and I come home from work and I'm like, we're just about to open a location in WA, she'd be like, that's cool, but like now it's like we're opening a location in WA. We built this ourselves, and whatever's coming from this, we did ourselves. That's fucking cool.
I also agree. That's probably one of the best things. And I think going through the journey just together and getting to experience stuff together, and like Tyson said, you know, because when you do win, it is, you know, it's both of you doing it. It's not just like I'm just not standing in Tyson's like shadow or vice versa. So we're doing this together.
And also when there's a loss, like there's something wrong, I can then share it with Jess and she understands the full like extent of it because she's there with it as well. I'm not just coming home saying like, oh, we've just had the meat increased by this and we've got to redo all the prices and like our managers quit. It's not like she knows about it, so you can share those problems. But
the worst thing is having to listen to him talk all day.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't know. The worst, I don't think there is a worse thing, to be honest.
No,
I think we found the positives.
The worst thing would be that it's awesome to spend so much time together, but sometimes you actually want your own space. And
yeah.
Like there's sometimes where I just want to be alone for like 2 hours. I speak to not just Jess, but like so many phone calls a day. I've taken 50 phone calls, all these franchisees. Sometimes I just want to be by yourself and you kind of like can't.
Yeah.
That's hard. Like nothing against Jess, but she's the same. Like she's just like, I just want to read my freaking book for like an hour without anyone.
That needs my alone time.
She's like, not just you, babe, just let me be by myself. And it's like that. It's hard because then I get a problem and I'm like, Jess, we need to sort this right now. Sorry, but this is like, we need it. The manager's just quit of this store, like something like that. I don't know. Like, but yeah, that's probably the worst part is that you are together all the time and you do need your own space. And until we get more and more of a team, we're just pretty much in a startup phase with franchising. We've got only a small team. We need to build out a bigger team and have like guns in each area of the business to try and spread the workload.
Our head office is very small at the moment.
This is everyone. No, we've got
plus a couple of extras, but we're just at that stage where, we are growing and expanding. So a lot of the workload is on us and we are wearing so many different hats. So we're spread thin, which was why it was so great to be able to go and, spend a couple of weeks away and
recharge the batteries a little bit.
Yeah, not even that we didn't get to focus on the business for those like 2 weeks because we were still working. But
we got 5 stores opening before Christmas. It's like the busiest time we've ever had. Like 5 different builders to deal with, 5 different franchisees to onboard. It's like, and that's a lot for us.
Yeah.
Like,
it was nice just for a change of scenery, just to be in some warm weather because Sydney weather has just
work on the tans, as everyone can see.
It's funny because like I've lived in Sydney before and I'm talking it up so much to Tyson. I was like, the Northern Beaches is so beautiful. You're going to love it there. We arrive and literally hadn't stopped raining.
It's like flooding on the roads. I'm like, this is awesome, Jess.
It's been the worst year for weather in Sydney, honestly.
Yeah.
I was like, when is it going to get better? I honestly hated Sydney for the first month because I was like, I've moved to this. It's just floods all the time. Like where we live, it's nice. There's like yachts and you can see all these like cool, but you couldn't even see them. It's pouring that much and I just didn't enjoy it. And then the sun come out one day. And I'm looking around, I'm like, wow, this place is actually awesome.
Yeah.
She's like, I told you. And I was like, no, I didn't think it was going to be this good.
No, Sydney, look, Sydney's home for me. But like, I think, I love Sydney, but when you grow up somewhere, I don't think you fully appreciate. Like I've always lived in Sydney. But I want to ask you something. I've had business partners and I've had not business partners. I prefer to have a business partner because of the exact reasons you say. You share the highs, you share the lows together, and they're just as important as each other because like you obviously want someone there and it helps so much. When you have someone, you got to feel like obviously I'm an e-com, so let's just say it's a website issue and our website's broken or something's not working or stock is held somewhere and we can't get it released or whatever. Like you can't go to bed if it's your business. If something's broken, you can't go to bed until you fix it. It's like 12:30 at night, 1 o'clock, 1:30.
Exactly.
To have someone there in those moments, obviously it helps so much. But then on the flip side, it's like, okay, I remember when I launched the business and we had an incredible success, dream start. Like when I worked a job, probably getting like a corporate. My business partner was managing a gym. Really, we're probably earning $1,000 a week, like working our whole time. And then like we made our first $1 million after like 3 months. And then like you tell your friends all these things and it's exciting. And then like you can't just, I gets to a certain point where like, I'm not just going to, we just sold $5 million or 10. Like it gets to a point like you can, and own to have someone along that journey that really understands how hard you've had to work for and how special it is, because I feel like you don't want to always just like, because at the end of the day, if you keep putting it to someone who doesn't understand or.
We have found that was a hurdle that I like trying to tell even my close friends like about the wins and stuff. After like a couple, it's like they don't understand and they don't really care. Like they are happy for you, but there's only like every time you're calling them, you've done something cool. They're not really understanding.
Yeah.
And then it's like trying to explain to like my family that hasn't been in business before, like we're going to franchise. They're like, well, why wouldn't you own the stores yourself? Like, why would you do that? And then it's just like, nothing against them. It's just they just don't understand. So it's just like.
Neither of our families have been in business before. So this whole journey to them is just, like nothing they've ever known.
I used to get so angry at them for the first year. Like, they just didn't understand. They thought we were multi-millionaires. Like, yes, we might have done $1 million in sales, but that's all gone. Like, and they're thinking, there's a lineup of people. How are they not millionaires? They're asking for money and stuff. And it's like trying to explain it to them. I got so angry at them. Then I said one day, I was like, how can I be angry at them? They've never been in business before. They don't understand. Like, yes, you might bring in $1 million. What has to go out, especially in food businesses, it's at least 90% of that. But then we want to build another store. It's all gone. Like, that's trying to explain that. So I don't get angry at them anymore.
I remember, because I'm the same. No one in my family's ever run a business. I was the first.
Awesome.
But it was the opposite for me. Like, they were seeing like the success, that outward success of the business, and like I don't think they really took it seriously. And I remember, because my cousin, someone I look up to a lot, and I've always gone to advice. He's 6 years older. He's been our finance manager, and he now like works like CFO for a $100 million business. Like, really smart, way smarter than I've ever been. But obviously one of those people that is like more risk adverse and managing all that sort of stuff. Yep. And I remember when my business partner left, I wanted to hire someone to take over that role, which is like more of the operational and financial role. Yeah. And I went to see my cousin, have a meeting just to go over like the plan for this new role and kind of budgeting and stuff. And I showed him the numbers, and he's like, what the fuck? He's like, you're actually making profit? Like, obviously he did not believe it. He's like, I could do this stuff for you. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, it can work. Yeah. And then, my cousin, I ended up hiring my cousin to bring him in. And that was honestly one of the most rewarding parts.
That is awesome.
That's
awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah. And my older cousin was like my older brother. Yeah. Because like I grew up with my mum, and I lived in a granny flat in my grandparents' house with my mum, and my cousin was just down the road. So if I didn't have my younger brother 6 years younger. So it was like me and my cousin for like 6 years. So that was awesome. Beautiful experience. Yeah.
That's
it's so funny that you say that, because even when I go to like my grandpa's house now, he'll be like, have you got a job yet, Jess? I'm like, they just don't get it. I'm like, I am the CEO of a national company. Like,
they don't get it, huh?
CEO and co-founder.
It's funny. It's funny hearing like you can't be angry at them though. That's just what they they think. How are you not working 9 to 5?
Traditionally,
like, how are you here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and not at work? Like,
but also I was up at 4 a.m. fixing problems. And like it's
Yeah.
Well, there's a question I want to ask you guys. I know it's something I had to learn a lot in the early days and improve, because I was 24 and I launched the business, green as, no real business experience at all. And it's something that I've improved a lot on, but it didn't come naturally. It's like you guys seem like you're a great partnership, but like, have you had to work on and learn how to communicate better throughout the problems and the issues, and like communicate in a way that you both understand where you're coming from, but it's not. Yeah,
definitely. I think
100%.
Definitely. Yeah. We just met, so we're still working each other out. Let alone going into business and becoming business partners a month in. So we were still working out like how to communicate with each other on like a normal level, and then through business. So like it kind of intertwined all the things. Honestly, probably end of last year, the relationship was getting so much about business. And we were just talking about business all the time, where we've kind of like left the relationship behind.
Yeah.
And then we Jess pretty much said, like, we need to.
I was like, we're not going to have a relationship pretty soon. Like, if we don't start working on this, like, we'll be business partners and that's it. And like, if that's where we want to go, then we have to keep like, if we want to end up there, then we keep going in this direction. Otherwise, we have to stop and actually take time for ourselves and to have time together.
And how do you do that logistically? Is it setting time that it's not? So how do you do it?
It comes down to, so shout out to one of my best mates, Casey. He's like, do you guys have like a calendar that you follow? I was like, oh, look, we got appointments and stuff. He's like, no, but like, do you have a calendar for yourself? Like time for yourself, time for your relationship? And I was like, no, I don't. So then we built a calendar.
Yeah.
Where like in the mornings from 5 till 7 a.m. is like individual type time, Jess and Tyson time. Like if we want to work out. I usually go for a run, go to Pilates. She might do the same thing. She might go for a run by herself, whatever. And then the main thing that helped our relationship was after a certain time, we made a rule that we can't talk about Mr. Potato.
And it's not easy. Obviously don't always follow it because sometimes. And the best thing was when we moved to Sydney, the office area that we've got set up is literally on the bottom floor of our house. So it's like we go downstairs. That's where the business is. As soon as we walk up those stairs, it's time to switch off as much as possible because you know how
it's not easy because you know how it goes as a business owner. It's like fucking 3 a.m. in the morning. I wake up. I'm like, we need to cut the potatoes better like this. And just like, babe, come on, relax. Like last night, like you're guilty of last night.
Yeah,
laying
literally
there.
the other night
Jess
I
goes,
rolled over and said, babe, I've thought of our new breakfast menu.
Yeah, I'm literally just dozing off, and she's like, babe, I know what to do for our breakfast menu because we don't have one. She's like, and she starts explaining. I was like, babe, fucking hell, it's like,
I think you need to do that, but there needs to be certain times. Like
what it was though, it was from
it never stopped.
Till we go to sleep. It was just
stopped.
Mr. Potato. Eat food, talk about Mr. Potato. Finish watching a movie, talk about stop it, talk about Mr. Potato, Mr. Potato, Mr. Potato, and it was just like. We had to make sure we're healthy and that we're happy as a couple because that ripples through the whole business massively. So,
and you said before, you asked like what's something that you've had to learn to be able to communicate, with each other. For me, it was because I was so independent growing up. I've been on my own pretty much since the age of like 15, lived alone, not used to asking people for help. Even in my old business, I never asked anyone for help. So coming into business and then working with your partner, it was like I just felt like I had to do everything on my own and was almost ashamed that if I asked for help, then it was a sign of weakness. And I've had to really learn, like, no, you need other people around you and you need other people that have other skills.
It's a protection mechanism though, right? And then you got to open yourself up to that, right? Yeah. I was the same in certain situations as well.
100%.
I came from team sports background, work within a team my whole life. I know that you can't be afraid to ask for help. People have done what you're trying to do before. You can learn from people. Why make those mistakes when someone else has already made it? And that was difficult for me, for Jess. I was like, Jess, this person can help us. She's like, no, we don't need any help. We can do it ourselves. It's like, Jess, but that person's done it. No, well, I can figure it out myself. It's like, yeah, you can, but that's going to take this amount of time. If this person's done it, we can learn it in straight away. Like you can bypass that. And she's like, that took a bit. But
that's also come from a lot of people just doubting what I wanted to do in our visions. Like even as I said before, our own shareholders told us, you can't be dreaming like that. You're living in a fantasy land, and we've gone and done it. So I feel like I know what I see in my mind and my vision as usually not many other people can see that becoming a reality.
Yeah, that mentality. So, if Jess was any different, that Mr. Potato probably wouldn't be here, like that's helped us get to where Jess have another business and do this. It's just like having a little bit of a balance, whereas I wasn't a big dreamer, creative person, so I can brush off on Jess now and start to think, well, maybe we actually can have 1,000 stores in 10 years. Maybe we actually can do it. We've done what we said we were going to do this time. Like that's the plan. The plan is to have 1,000 stores in 10 years. With
even still the way you say you will, and you're like, the plan is. It's like it's very different, But you need honestly, that's part of the recipe of a good partnership. Yeah. If both were the same, it would it can still be successful.
I would be a nightmare working with myself. Honestly.
Imagine
if we were both creative dreamers. Nothing would actually get executed properly. And if we were both like me, we probably wouldn't dream big enough, and you'd probably
still be on the first store.
Still have one store. Have one successful, run very well first store. That's it. Like it's a very good combo. We are opposites, and that's why we work really well. But we have the same vision. So
as I always say, I'd hate to be a twin. Like I couldn't deal with another person like that. I could not deal with another.
That's why I don't want to have kids. I'm petrified of having children because I'm like, I really what if they end up exactly like me? And I just think back to how I was.
Right?
I'm like, I know that they'll do really well, but I'm also like, I don't think I can handle what I was like.
I don't have enough patience to deal with a mini me either.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Jess, that's funny. Yeah.
What about you? You were speaking about learning from other people. Is there a piece of advice or a direction or a tip that either any of your investors gave to you guys that helped reshape your vision or move in a different direction?
Just let me think. What did they? Anything specific?
Because is Jack an investor as well?
Yeah.
He's a shareholder. He's a sales guru, and to learn from him, it's been awesome. He actually helped with our whole sales process for when we get franchises.
Yeah.
He helped us write the process. We spent a lot of time on it. We perfected it, and then that's how we've found probably 16 new franchises this year. So,
but I guess our number one piece of advice was you just have to go out there and you just have to start small. it doesn't have to be perfect the first time. You just have to like get the wheels in motion and just, you know, whatever it is that you want to do, just go out there and start doing it, because people wait for the right time. There's never going to be a right time, right? It's like, it's always going to be something that's holding you back. So you just have to push through those barriers and just, you know, go out there and get it done.
Well, not only the right time, people try and wait for the perfect time, and that's definitely never
there's never a perfect time.
We find like we should have waited. Like technically, you should have had the business plan perfected. You should have had the cash to start the business. You should have had experience. We should have done this, should have done that. But we just jumped in, all in. Yes, we made a million mistakes at the start, a billion mistakes. We didn't know what we were doing, but that's how we learned. And we just, as long as you can absorb everything and keep learning, then you can grow.
And learn from the mistakes that you made.
The key
I think the worst thing is when you make a mistake and then you don't learn from it, and then the universe gives you the same mistake again.
That
and you're
is
like,
100% the worst thing to do.
Do you have an example? Has that happened to you guys at all?
Yes.
I'm trying to give an example, but like that's the most frustrating thing that you do when, even for us personally, if you go through that mistake, mistakes are completely fine, but making the same mistake twice is something that you just, that's when it's not okay.
That really burns me as well. If I ever do that in life, I'm like,
you've done this before. Like, and then when you're coaching and like leading people as well, and you see them make the same mistake twice, you're like, that's when it gets frustrating. One's fine. Everyone makes mistakes, but
I integrated something into my life many years ago because I was someone who always struggled with making mistakes. Not struggled, like I beat myself up, but I make a mistake. And like, but then like, if I could always find a lesson in it, it was sweet, right? But if I ever make a mistake, and I still do this now, and it helps me a lot. If I'm not necessarily make a mistake, if I do something that I shouldn't have, let's just say I was dieting. This is not a personal example to me.
Yeah.
But I would do something and I shouldn't have done it, or it was wrong, and I ate Maccas, right?
Yeah.
I would then, if I do something bad or a mistake and I can't, there's no lesson, there's no value in it, I would say, okay, because I've done that, I'm now going to go run 10, 15, 20 Ks. I will make up for it in a way completely unrelated, but I will look for a way that I can make, like that I wouldn't have done this if I didn't make the mistakes, so that I can add more value to my life.
Yeah, 100%.
Like back on the lessons, every single mistake that's ever happened or failure with Mr. Potato has always been the biggest turning point, or always learnt something from it. It's just like, but that's easy enough to say. People always say that, but like that at that point in time, it's not easy. You know, when things are all going wrong, you have to pivot, and then you end up growing really well if like you don't give up. But that time is hard.
Yeah.
Looking back, would you have changed the time you launched to maybe wait out some of that, or are you glad you launched? No
way. I wouldn't change a single thing about our journey. Like, our journey's our journey. I'm proud of like every step of, you know, what we've been through. You know, what we've achieved, what the mistakes have been, what we've learned, you know, all of our failures.
Even COVID, like the biggest hurdle, COVID was sucked, and it financially hurt us a lot, but it made us refine the whole business. Yeah. And then now it's functioning way better than it ever had. So the best thing that ever happened was that. Yeah. For our business to function better. We wouldn't be able to sell as many franchises if we hadn't fine-tuned the stores that we had to perform better. And the only reason we really focused on that, like to every single dollar, was because we didn't have the money to spare. So we're like, make sure we're spending the exact amount of the money we need to for cost of goods. The scoop sizes, we started doing everything possible to make sure we can control the wages and the cost of goods and anything we control.
Which we had no idea for like the first year. We were just like, give everyone as much food as they want. like we started serving sizes. What is that? Like
people that are watching this that are in fast food would like cringe at this, but we didn't even know what COGS were until when COVID came along. Cost of goods is like packaging drinks and like beverages. The percentage of sales for like a fast food business shouldn't exceed like 32. Ours is running at like 40, and like like we ended up refining it and getting it down. Now it runs at 30. And it's like, that's a big difference. So that's an extra 10% that hits the profit. Now your businesses are functioning way better. You're more profitable, which has allowed us to expand quicker and get investment and like.
Because margins are so important when you're in like your
food.
Industry,
So
right?
food, like I don't know any food business that operates more than 15% profit in any food industry. Like it's usually between 7 to 15, and like it's tight. So you might turn over, say like, I don't know, $1 million, but you're only profiting 100.
And how do you? What's your process for finding these inefficiencies and improving your business?
I think getting to know our numbers, first of all, was like really important. I've never been a numbers person, and so it's really hard. Like I'm dyslexic, so that's why I struggled at school so much as well. even now, like Tyson will say, "Oh, can you pay this?" And I go to write the bank details in. I've sent it to the wrong person because I've switched a number around.
Oh man, the amount of returns I've got, like important bills. They're like, "You haven't paid this." I'm like, Jessica, don't do it.
Well, you should know. That's your lesson. Stop outsourcing that to Jess.
Exactly,
we're driving. I'm like, you need to pay this quickly. It's like $4,000 or something. And
I'm like,
gets
sure
returned.
you want me to do this?
Like, just take it. She repeats it out loud like 3 times, still messes it up. It's like, that's just how it goes.
But Tyson's like, you've learnt so much through, you know, the last, especially like 2 or 3 years, just with, you know, getting.
I'm not afraid to ask people that have done it before, like what I should be doing or how they went about things. Like, first thing I asked you is like, what are the cogs of Zambrero run out? What are like, how do they keep it down? What are you can do? Where like, so I'm not afraid to do that, and I've always been like that. I'll ask other business owners in our first ever stores in Glenelg, like, how do you guys manage this? How did you do this? And I'm not afraid to look silly because I can learn. They've been, even though they're not doing fast food, if they've just got a restaurant, say, it's all transferable.
Yeah.
So just picking apart and trying to operate as best as possible how other people are doing it as well has just been like keys.
And just where do you think you get like your self-belief and like your fearlessness from?
Honestly, I feel like, you know, I was born with a lot of this, but my childhood, like I was left to kind of roam the streets and things. Like I never really had my parents overshadowing me when I was doing things. So I was always creating. I was always, you know, riding off somewhere on adventures. And I think that gave me the ability because in the first 7 years, right, it's your imprint years. So those are those are the years when you're literally, you know, becoming the person that you're going to be and, you know, you're learning your values and your beliefs. So I think because of that time, I was able to just become kind of who I was and create in my own way without having someone like constantly, you know, saying, no, that's not going to work. You can't do this. Like that'll get you hurt. I think that was what was able to make me just have this kind of fearless nature to me. But you can teach yourself to do it.
I was the most fearful person, and then I met Jess, and she's the most fearless person.
Yeah,
and it's contagious, man. She never thinks of anything bad. She never looks at a situation and thinks something negative is going to come from it ever. Like, it's just always going to work out.
Which is probably a little bit naive sometimes, but I'm like, what is the point in thinking negative about it? And I also believe that, you know, if you have a negative thought, if you replace it with a positive one, then, you know, that's 20 times more powerful or something. So there's no point in staying in that negative mindset. You know, you might as well just be positive and hope for the best, you know?
Contagious.
Like
how have you transferred it and how have you taken it on for people that want to build their self-belief and fearlessness?
I think like a lot of the time, like I'm not saying everything always has worked out for us, but the thing that Jess does, if that thing that doesn't work out, she just gets over it so quickly and manages that problem as fast as possible and keeps moving forward. So I think it's just, when something does go wrong, just getting over it and like, yes, it's a mistake. Don't dwell on it. Don't make the same mistake twice. Just work through that one problem and keep moving forward. I think that's what will allow you to give confidence to keep doing and trying things all the time. Yeah. So, because, you know, if it doesn't work out, you're fine. And that's what we keep finding. If something doesn't work out, we always end up okay. Yes, it's not easy at that time.
I mean, every day is a chance to pick yourself up and recreate yourself and, you know, take a different opportunity. You never know, like, where this crazy world is going to take you, you know. It's so many different paths and, you know, I've been down so many wrong turns, you know, crossroads and things, not knowing which way to turn. And it's just a matter of knowing that, like, at the end of the day, everything will be okay, you know? Yep. You don't have to put so much pressure on these tiny little moments, you know, throughout the day or that you go through. It's I think we overthink things.
And I think there's a really cool story as an example of your fearlessness. I believe there's a rusty pram story.
Oh, yeah. Did you listen to that?
I may have. Do you want to tell us like a kind of what that was?
Yeah. Okay. So, I grew up on Kangaroo Island, which is a little island. Well, it's not little, but it's an island off the coast of South Australia. And like I said, like my parents, you know, they just left us to roam the streets. And my brother and I, he was 3 years older than me, we used to ride our bikes down the big hill that was alongside the house. It was quite steep. And one day we realised that, you know, it wasn't giving us enough thrill. So we're like, what can we get? You know, we'll kind of like fulfill that.
Level this shit up.
Yeah, literally.
How can we make this more hard?
Yeah, so we've gone into the shed and like rummaged around and found this like old rusty pram and we've taken it up to the top of the hill. And like me and my brother literally fought over who was going to get in there first. Like that's the kind of shit we would do. Anyway, he won this time and it was probably a good thing. Anyway, so he gets in the pram. We push him down and he's like, he starts like picking up speed, like more and more and more. And the next minute, like he's gotten halfway down the hill. He's going so fast. The wheels have like buckled and he's just got like thrown from the pram and he's just rolling down the hill. And we were kind of just standing there like in amazement. And at that point in time, before we didn't think about the consequences or what might go wrong. It was just like we were following just this natural, instinct that, okay, how can we level this up? Like,
And how old were you at that point? Like,
I probably was like 6.
Yeah, so still in those early years. That's why it stuck with you.
Yep.
Yeah, literally. And I think we second guess ourselves so much, and society does that to us, Society says, okay, you have to go to school, you have to get a job after that. Don't think too much for yourself. Here's the plan set out for you. Don't make mistakes because things can go wrong and, you'll never recover from it or whatever. And I think, by just breaking away from that and realizing that, everyone has an opportunity to decide exactly what they want to do with their life and make plans. And even when things do go wrong, like it's an opportunity to learn, like we were saying. So
there's a lot of unlearning our generation has to do, right? Especially now with the way the world is, there's so much more opportunity and it's easier for us to create the lives we want compared to our parents. So.
I agree.
100%, yeah.
And what's the vision? I hear things like the next Subway is going to be Mr. Potato. Like, what's the vision for the brand?
We could learn, Subway have 45,000 stores.
Not bad.
Yeah. They're the biggest in the world.
Yeah.
Look,
they've got a bigger footprint than McDonald's.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Most people don't know. They're the biggest franchise in the world.
Wow, I did not know that either.
It's crazy. I think they turn over 4.5 billion a year.
Just a lazy 4.5 billion.
No, like if we can get Mr. Potato in every single city in the world, that's the goal. So.
Yeah. And do it well. We want our customers to love our food. We want people to love the brand and, and see like literally what we've built from the ground up with our blood, sweat and tears.
Yeah.
It's not in the food, but it's like...
if you talk about the food, it's a baked potato. It's in every culture pretty much in the world. I don't know too many that don't really eat it. And you can load it exactly how you like. So it does cater for everyone. So
and as well, one thing, like that you speak about is re-educating people about like the nutritional value in potato and that it's got a lot of a bad rap. Kind of explain that to me.
It has, definitely.
Well, like, I mean, over the years, and it's mainly come from like, say the last 30 years when all of the low carb diets came on board. So, the South Beach diet, Atkins, things like that, which literally labeled, carbs as like a no-go zone. And I was one of those people, like for 10 or so years when I was in the modeling industry, like I didn't eat carbs. I was that girl that would pick the toppings off of pizza. Like that's where I was at. And yeah, it's just about re-educating people because like a potato actually has more vitamin C. Your daily recommended vitamin C
intake. Yeah, has more potassium than a banana. People don't understand.
Yeah, I did not know that until I did a bit of research.
They're actually loaded. And you got the sweet potato as well, which is like a really good slow release carb. So your body takes a while to break it down, so it releases it over longer periods of time. So you're energized for longer. But this is the stigma of we get a lot of people walk in the stores and they're like, potatoes can't be good for you, and then like we're there like, that's the biggest stigma we try and we combat.
But honestly, it's one of the best sources of carbohydrate that you can have, compared to like bread or rice, which is like really low nutritional, values. There's definitely minimal minerals and vitamins in that, whereas the potato's packed with them. So
you got Newtown. Where else should people be keeping an eye out for? Where's coming?
So right now before Christmas, there should be Newtown open, Joondalup in WA, which is at Lakeside Joondalup Shopping Centre. There's Broadbeach in Queensland. There's Robina in Queensland, and there's Pimpama in Queensland as well. Yeah, I think it's Pimpama.
I think it's Pimpama. I don't know. Pimpama.
Gold Coast people will know that it's a weird word.
And then early next year, we've got 2 stores opening in Newcastle, New South Wales. So
which is good. We've got one more opening in SA.
Another one in Perth.
Yeah, there's like 14 that like I don't know the ones past. We're focusing on these 5 right now.
And our first ever Melbourne store will open.
Oh, it'll do well in Melbourne, you think, right?
Yep. The captain of the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix actually just bought one the other day.
Oh, sick.
So
that's awesome.
With his network, it's going to be great. So.
You're leveraging the basketball contacts again. There you go.
He's actually my groomsman. He's
I just so happen to be that the only Sydney store is a few hundred meters from my place.
So
coming here, I actually drove past it to get it.
I'll be there, and I really hope that you make this before Christmas because I'm keen to try it. I genuinely, before I knew anything about you guys, and my mate messaged me when I put that story up. He's like, make sure you ask him when Newtown's open.
Yeah, awesome. That's great.
We've been keen as for it.
I know there's been so many people messaging like every single day, like 5 to 10 people being like, when's it opening? When's it opening?
That's the thing.
Like we've been waiting so long.
No, we're not just getting those. We're getting, guys, you said it was going to be open 2 months ago. We're like, this is good. They're keen, and then they get like passive aggressive.
Yeah. I'm like, honestly,
is it ever coming or what's going on? I'm like, we're working like our ass off to get this open for you guys.
Like it sucks that it's not open, but at least you're in like a really high exposure area, so like people like know that it's coming,
it's
and like you want kind of people to be like too many people be like, what the fuck, when are you opening? Versus you open and there's no one. It's just cricket. So
100%.
And for everyone that wants to check you guys out, Mr. Potato, where's the best place to find you guys?
Just on Instagram or on TikTok or our website, Mr. Potato.
Yep.
We'd love to have you follow us. And then Instagram for our personal accounts as well.
Where you at on Instagram? What's the handle?
Just
shout them out. Shout them out.
Mine's just at Tyson Hoffman. It's easy.
Mine's Jess Davis Ost. Which don't even ask me where it's come from.
I think because Jess Davis is a very popular name.
Yeah, like, super frustrating.
I had to buy my some little kid in not little kid, he's like a few years, like I don't know, 20s in Canada. I think had my username on like. Because I just want to Dylan Mullan.
Yeah, that's like,
what on like Twitter and Instagram, and like I had to find this kid and I messaged him and like I PayPal'd him like $200 to give it the username on.
See, there's a girl with my name, Jess Davis, right? And I've inboxed her so many times.
But she won't reply.
Like it's just a dormant account, and so then I've like tried to report it.
My name never
goes through. The things we do, right?
I know.
Yeah, my name's Tyson, like Tyson HOFFMANN. That's how you spell it. But on Instagram, I've got 3 N's because someone's got mine.
There.
He's never posts or anything, and I'm messaging all the time. Hey man, I'll give you $100 for it.
First world problems.
Why not? I know.
Soon I'll probably He went. Hopefully he's not listening. But not offering like $1,000. Like, dude, just give me the freaking thing. I want to have it nice and neat.
Yeah, I know. The things we do. That's it. First world problems, guys. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks so much for coming in, sharing your story. I'm keen to try food, so I'll be there. I'll be a customer for sure. And good luck for the next year and all the new store openings.
Thanks for having us.
I'm excited to follow your journey along.
Thank you.
Done. There we go. Sick.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode or you got something out of it, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do your friends a favor and share this with them, and they can come along on this journey with us. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.